in those first few months, it gave us that reputation. It's like, oh, these guys aren't messing around. This is real. We can trust them. For anyone trying to make those connections, warm leads are always better than cold. So now when a customer's shopping, they can see, oh, wow, I can get my money back instantly. I've got confidence. I've got no reason not to buy.
Welcome to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast that express delivers all you need to know in the fast-moving world of online retail. Every week, Nathan Bush from eSuite and an e-commerce industry expert will share the news, research and insights that you need to know to keep you at the top of your game. And of course, keep your customers adding to cart.
Hello and welcome to Add to Cart. My name is Nathan Bush, host of Add to Cart and director at e-commerce talent agency eSuite. Now, I may be hitting you with a very sensitive topic for this time of year, but here goes. Today's guest describes himself as a retail enthusiast who has combined this energy with his finance background to create a solution for a very common pain point. Refunds. Yes, refunds. Stay with me. Brad Karney is the co-founder of Refundid. They provide instant refunds to customers on behalf of brands when customers want to make a return. Instead of customers having to wait until the item has made its often long journey back to a retailer, customers get the cash in their pocket straight away. Refundid are backed by the venture arm of Afterpay and now have over 30 stores on board, including Culture Kings, Sass and Bide, and General Pants. In this chat, Brad shares how Refundid took a load off customer service teams, what it felt like when he onboarded the very reputable brand that gave him the idea for the company in the first place, and what he's learned about cultivating powerful business connections. I hope I haven't triggered you so far. Now, thanks to our partners, Shopify Plus and Signet, here's our conversation with Brad Karney, CEO and co-founder of Refundid. Brad, welcome to Add to Cart.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to be here.
Mate, we've had to move this. I'm currently filming this for anyone who's watching it. I'm currently filming it in my parents-in-law's house in Bundaberg and sweating my butt off. We moved it because you had a COVID scare pre-Christmas. Everything okay now?
Yeah, everything's good. I mean, I think everyone did pre-Christmas period. Everyone's a bit nervy going out. You get a bit of a sniff or a sore throat, kind of go into code red. I think, now we're kind of shifting through that period as well. But I was all good. I'm still in Sydney at the moment, a bit humid, a bit mucky weather, but back in the office, which is really good.
Nice. And I hear that it's upset some plans for you in terms of traveling early next year.
Yeah, I was supposed to head off to New York next week for the big retail show. They've got a NRF retail conference where it's like one of the biggest conferences in the US, let alone, the world, similar to kind of what online retail or Retail Fest over here. But just due to the significant cases there, I heard I was speaking to a friend over in the US and they were like, if you go outside, you get COVID.
Yeah.
If you walk outside, you immediately get it. So I thought it was better to delay that in terms of, a trip and stay in Australia for a bit longer.
Yeah, it's been really funny seeing some of the big conferences kick off, even CES. I've seen some photos on Twitter recently, and it is normally pumping with all sorts of robots and crazy TVs and all sorts of stuff. It just looks empty. So it's going to be interesting to see what events look like in 2022. Hopefully they're all back because I know people in e-commerce are just frothing to catch up again. It just feels like it's been so long.
Definitely. I think it's exciting this year, even talking about, there is a bit of COVID uncertainty, but I think the events will be better than ever because everyone is so excited. The e-commerce managers and, across all retailers I speak to are just so excited to get going across all of them, see all these new solutions. Because what's happened is over the COVID period of 2020 and 2021, there's been all this new innovation in retail that hasn't had the opportunity to shed its light. And I'm excited to see it myself, learn a bit more.
And you've given me such a great lead in there for a question. So we've obviously, in terms of innovation over this period, Refundid has come up and you're the founder, co-founder?
Yeah, co-founder and CEO. That is my title, glorified title, I like to call it. Retail enthusiast, used to be a finance enthusiast. You put those two together and you get Refundid.
Nice. So tell us about Refundid. What is it?
Yeah, so Refundid started June 2020 to solve a massive pain point in retail, which is refunds. My partner, Joel Aaron, was returning something to Culture Kings and it took 6 weeks for him to get his refund back.
Yeah.
Right. During an extremely busy period for Culture Kings. And, it was a situation that is completely out of Culture Kings' control. So for a customer to get their refund back, if you look at that 6-week period, what happened was Joel decided that he wanted to make a return. He had to take it to the post office or however to get it back. Culture Kings then needed to wait to receive it. And, during busy times, it can take, 1 week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks. And that's out of the retailer's control. So customers get frustrated at the retailer where it should be directed at the logistics players, right? And then once it's received by Culture Kings, they need to process it. And during those times, it can even be longer. It can take, a few days to even get to the return. And I'm sure as a customer, you've seen, even once it's processed, you'll get an email saying, oh, please wait 5 to 7 days for it to reach your account. So if you add up those stages, you get to, 3, 4, 5 weeks pretty quickly. I think a lot of customers that are in retail experience that quite a lot. So off the back of that, we decided to solve that problem. And that's what Refundid is today, a solution that eliminates that friction point where customers are uncertain shopping online. Because if they do return something, they'll be out of pocket, $100, $200, $300, $400 for weeks, right? With no product. So that's what we've done. And how the solution works is we completely eliminate those stages that I recently spoke about. The sending it back, the waiting for the processing, the bank processing times. Instead, when we partner with the retailer, we give the customer the ability to get their refund instantly, even before they've sent it back.
Okay.
So there's no uncertainty for the customer. There's no customers complaining to the retailer saying, where's my money? I want my money back now. I'm never shopping here again. What we've done is we've put confidence in the customer to shop at a retailer. So now when a customer is shopping, they can see, oh, wow, I can get my money back instantly. I've got confidence. I've got no reason not to buy. So from your side, how do you know that the customer has returned the item? Yeah, so what we do, we put a lot of trust in the customer. So when the customer wants to use Refundid, how we kind of position ourselves is we're a global first refund option. So if you look back, 5, 6 years, the way you could purchase was like Amex, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. Now Afterpay was that real first option of another way to pay. This is what we are. We're a new option for a customer to get their refund back. So how that works is how we know the customer sent it back. When they choose Refundid and we give them that refund, we give the customer 3 business days to provide a tracking number, right? Okay. And the reason we give them time and don't require it straight away, because on a Sunday, the post office is closed. Let's say the customer wants to get their refund back straight away, right? We give them those 3 business days. Okay. They then provide the tracking number, and we've got that ability to see, oh, it's in transit. It's in transit. The retailer's received it. And then when the retailer does receive it, they just let us know. Gotcha. And then the retailer transfers to you? Correct. Well, we do a direct debit of sorts. Direct debit. Okay. Yeah, we've got that agreement. Got you. And obviously I can see the benefit here from a customer's perspective. And from customer's experience, are they going to the Refundid site to process that, or is it in the retailer's site that they process this? Yeah, it's kind of 2 options. If the customer knows, Refundid's partnered with them. So for example, Culture Kings, we partner with them now. It's kind of a sentimental partnership after, it originally started with Culture Kings. Let's say customers know Culture Kings have Refundid. Yep. They can just go directly to the Refundid website. Yeah. Right. For customers that might not, they'll go to the return policy like usual. A customer, if they want to return, so they can go to the return policy and they'll see Refundid as an option. Yeah. They'll then select that and it goes to a pop-up page where they're taken through that quick process to get their money back. Okay. It's the equivalent of, on the payment side, if they're paying with PayPal or Afterpay. Yeah. Just on the refund side. Oh, I love it. I've recently had this experience and I wasn't going to call it out, but it was so bad that it was Sonos. And so I thought I'd do the right thing, buy direct from Sonos. And obviously a big global country and they've got territories everywhere. I thought I'd go direct rather than buying through a retailer. But it was a faulty product and the returns process has been exactly what you said. It's been 3 hours of live chat to diagnose it. Yes, it was faulty. Then you had to email because there was no live chat, emails back and forth, 2 days delay. So it's going to be 10 weeks, 12 weeks until I get a refund back for something that's out of my control. It's crazy. And the confidence kind of shifts now for you in Sonos, right? To kind of purchase from them again, compared to, let's say they would have Refundid. You would have just gone to Refundid, got your money back and forget about it. Yeah. That's it. And then you'll know, I can just always purchase from Sonos, right? Because I've got that confidence. Right. So that's really what we're doing. So thanks for bringing that up.
Topeka is an Australian nutrition brand born on Shopify back in 2016. Such a long, long time ago. 4 years later, volumes have increased, B2B has become a priority, and it was time to scale. This meant a transition from Shopify to Shopify Plus. And what a transition it was, with the addition of personalized discounts, cart optimizations, and a custom checkout. Topeka were able to increase their average order value from $89 to $94 across 15,000 orders per month. That is a sign of a very healthy partnership. To read more of Topeka's story and see other case studies, visit the customer section on shopify.com.au/plus. I can see it from a customer's perspective in terms of the customer experience, which is always a great place to start. How are you selling this into retailers? Because I'm assuming that there's a fee for them to have the Refundid service.
Yeah, of course. There's a few main value props for why, a lot of Australian retailers currently are taking us on and partnering with us in this early stage. I think the big one is confidence, right? So there's some really interesting stats of uncertainty for customers shopping online. So around 60, it's over actually, I'll call it around 60% of customers, when they're about to purchase something online, they'll go check the return policy before they purchase. And if they're not certain and they don't have confidence, they won't purchase the item. You can imagine, if you're purchasing something for $500, you're like, oh, if I have to return this, am I going to be able to be out of pocket $500 for, as you said, 10 to 12 weeks or something? And I assume the Sonos was a pretty expensive one, given their price point.
And for me, it wasn't even the price, it was just the process. And it seems to me you're solving both.
It's arduous. It's an arduous process. For a customer, that confidence is completely given by Refundid. What we do is when we partner with the retailer, we actually place ourselves on the PDP. It is optional. So we'll place ourselves on the PDP like Afterpay, Zip, and the rest. But what we do is, it's not a payment side. It's you're able to get your refund instantly through Refundid if you return. And what that does psychologically for the customer, it gives that sense of, assurance.
Yeah.
That if I do have to return this $500 item, I'm not going to be out of pocket $500 for weeks. And off the back of that single line on a PDP, we've seen huge conversion rate uplifts. Average order value uplifts because people are purchasing more and have more confidence. And in that, total sales have increased. So the ROI from that alone, from the fees that are charged for Refundid, it's incredible. So I get really excited about that when my retail partners are succeeding. But that's one of the key value props that we've seen.
Yeah.
The other one that's especially for the enterprise and large retailers that are dealing with a huge amount of customers and big customer service teams. They'll tell you that one of the biggest downfalls of customer service teams is dealing with this refund issue, where not only does it take a crazy amount of time to process, but also you've got customers reaching out saying, where's my refund? I want my money back, and the rest. With us, that's completely eliminated. All right. So if you've got a customer service team of 10 or 15 that are, let's say 10 of them are spending time on the refunds, now only 5 need to be spending time on the refunds. And the other 5 can actually be spending time on growing the company instead of dealing with these negative aspects of retail. Right.
Oh, it's a big pain point because a lot of the time refunds is treated as a side or a back end process to the supply chain, and it's kind of tacked on to the end rather than its own process.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are some 2 key ones, and I think the one that leeches off that customer service one is retention.
Yeah.
Right. So bringing back the Sonos example, it would be really hard for you to purchase from Sonos directly again now because of that experience. You don't want to go through that. What we've done is, let's say a lot of other Sonos experience that a lot of other customers have. When a retailer's got Refundid, that won't happen. Right. But instead of a bad experience, you've turned that bad experience where the customer will never shop into an incredible special experience. We've actually heard special quite a bit where the customer gets their money instantly into their bank account, instantly. It's quite a special, like, wow, that like instant gratification. Instead of that negative, you've turned it into a customer getting their money back straight away. Wow, this was an incredible experience. I love this store because they offer this. I'm going to keep shopping at this store more and more and more.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you've got two retailers that are quite similar and that retailer, let's say X and Y, retailer X has Refundid, and you can have that confidence, you're going to keep purchasing at that retailer X and not Y. Right. So it's a pretty powerful tool.
And I think as retailers, we can always justify why refunds take so long, right? We can always say, well, look, we've got to reconcile, we've got to find the order, we've got to wait for shipping, blah, 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 blah. From a customer's perspective, it should be simple. You know what I mean? They can't see all the intricacies that go into that refund process in the back end, waiting on banks, all that sort of stuff. So you're meeting a customer's expectation rather than what we've come to know as normal in retail.
Yeah, definitely. I think the big thing for us as well is that, for the retailer talking about, they've always got an excuse. When using Refundid, there's no risk for them anymore. our big thing is no risk. So it's a bit of a no-brainer for retailers to do that.
Are you able to give us an indication on costs for retailers to implement Refundid?
Yeah, sure. So there's no setup costs at all. It's a month-to-month contract. So there's no 12-month lock-in where a lot of tech plays do have. We are month-to-month, and the reason we do that is because we've got a lot of confidence in our product. And for context, we've had no retailer that's joined that's left us. Right, okay. So we've had no churn rate. The reason we do month-to-month is to show them, guys, this is really incredible. Try it. Just try it and have a go and see how your customers like it. See what the metrics look like. See if there's actually an increase in conversion. But if you don't want it, you can take it off. So that's why we do the month-to-month and no setup costs. The only cost they have is as we're a refund option, of refunds, we don't take all refunds. So if customers want to choose us as a refund option, like they choose Afterpay as a payment option, yep. Usually when we go into a site, 30 to 40, even 50% of customers will choose us. Of the refunds that go through us and are accepted, they pay us 3 to 5%. That's the kind of fee. And that's just depending on volume. Similar to kind of how Afterpay back when then it was like 4 to 6 or something. We're 3 to 5, but it's a bit different to the buy now, pay later. Some people get a bit scared of that. Yeah. But what we really are is a tiny, tiny segment of refunds compared to kind of payments where you are charged that fee. Right. And I think it's like 99%, I'll say 99% of retailers, we put forward that case study or ROI and spend forecast like, wow, we thought it'd be so much more. So it's actually not too much. And especially when you look at the returns that we're getting in terms of kind of conversion rates and average order value, all our retailers are in the money.
And in terms of integration, the technical capabilities needed, how are you going about that?
Yeah, so for kind of the main e-commerce platforms, we've got, applications or plugins where the integration is, can be done in 15 minutes, right? Yep. Given that, their backend is quite simple. With the bigger guys, there are kind of some, integrations to connect with other third parties, which we take care of in most cases. Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento. We're about to have commerce tools as well, Salesforce. Could be WooCommerce, could be forgetting a couple other guys.
So you've got most of them covered.
Yeah, we've got an incredible engineering team at Refundid that do that. And I think the better part is for those custom built platforms as well that don't usually have the opportunities to take advantage of these tech. We actually build custom platforms. So if there is like a retailer that has their own custom website, we work with them. We do all the tech build, and we're able to offer it to them, which they get really excited about.
Yeah, nice. So is the typical integration straight into the platform? There's no need to do a separate integration into finance or shipping systems? No.
So we cover that all through our system. Yep. Yeah, it's simply like, let's say it's Shopify or BigCommerce. They simply download an application that connects to us. We put a bit of, let's say, HTML on the PDP or something on the return policy to let customers know that they've got refunded, and that's it, right? You just reap the benefits. We've done it. It's actually quite funny. We were speaking to a retailer a few months ago, a 30-minute call. We ended up integrating with them within the 30 minutes. So we told them about the product. They were like, oh, we need this now. And we did it in the same call and had them up within that, an hour.
I hope you did some user testing in that time as well.
Yeah, we did. We You just need to do a test or two. It's fine.
Good stuff. Now, I think we've got a really great idea around how Refundid works and the problem you're solving. I'm really keen to hear your story because you mentioned that came from a finance background. The idea came about when your co-founder had a really bad experience with Culture Kings, but fast forward and now Culture Kings are actually using the solution from that experience. Tell us about the growth that you've experienced over the last 2 years and how you've built Refundid into what it is today.
Yeah, well, looking at a bit of a timeline, as mentioned, we really kicked off in June 2020, understood, this is a real problem. So we found the problem with Culture Kings. We started doing some market research, understanding, is this a problem universally? Just for a bit of context, I was from a finance background in investment banking. So when this problem came to mind, I was initially thinking some sort of fintech angle. Joel Aaron, my other co-founder, he was a massive e-commerce guru during, university or even at any time. He was, running 1, 2, 3 e-commerce stores at once. So he had that background, which was really useful. So we started looking at market research, understanding, is this a problem? How do we solve this? What are the real pain points? How can we improve this so retailers benefit significantly? We landed to a point in probably around October, developed the product, launched in February with a few stores to do kind of the soft testing. And then it really kicked off in, probably May, June this year. So now we're in 2022, probably like 6 to 7 months ago. And since then, we're now over 30 stores live. We'll probably be 50 stores live in the next month or two, with some of the biggest names shouting out. Culture King's one of them, Sass and Bide, Choosy, Lioness, Workwear Hub, soon to be Princess Polly, General Pants, Universal Store. Some really, really exciting names. And I think what I love is the customer centric brands and retailers that at the click of a button, or not even click of a button, after a minute of me talking and explaining what we're doing, we just you can see the excitement. So that's where we're at now. I think this year is really exciting because it's our first full year. As mentioned, we really only kicked off though launched in February of 2021, we really only kicked off kind of May, June 2021. So
yeah,
it's an exciting period for us, definitely.
And it's funny with the brands that you mentioned, obviously a lot of youth-centric brands there. And I don't think you'll mind me saying is that you're young yourself as a founder. Do you feel like refunds, it's a leading question, but do you think refunds play a more important part for younger shoppers coming through than they may have in the past for older shoppers?
I think definitely. A nice story or segue to go into that. Our CTO and also co-founder Ilan Kessler shares a story about his partner, girlfriend, that was purchasing shoes. I hate to name drop, but from Rebel, she was purchasing soccer boots, and she wanted to return them, and it took it could have been like weeks to get it back, right? And she didn't want to spend the money to buy another pair, because then she would have been out of pocket, another $200. But if she had got that money back quickly, she could have purchased it and have those boots for a soccer game on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So I think like talking about generations or talking about age or different, demographics of retailers that we're with, I think it becomes crucial when you're at that, university age where you don't have endless amounts of money to spend, where let's say you buy a jumper for $300. If you don't get that money back, you can't buy another jumper.
And you might not have lines of credit available to you either.
Exactly right. So that's where it becomes really important. And that's the other value prop where it's like, this is real. This can really help people, aside from the fact of conversion, and where, let's say later stage, like Sass and Bide's a bit of an older demographic. Still, those customers absolutely love us because they've got a high ticket items, $500-$600. And still, even if you got all the money or you can afford it, you still want that back, right?
Yeah.
But I think it is a nice touching point to think that, you are actually helping people there.
Yeah. Now, do you come across this from retailers at all? Because retailers generally don't want to encourage returns. You're making returns very easy. Is that a concern for some that you speak to?
This was when we were creating this product. This was our biggest concern because we did not want to do that. We didn't want to increase returns at all. I can happily say that across, all our retailers after, since we've launched, not one has, recorded an increase in return rate. The reason being, maybe there is a slight increase in, marginal returns, but the increase in total sales and orders from the conversion and confidence of customers has far offset that.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Right.
And how do you measure that?
Oh, it's in terms of measure, you'll look at, the return rate when we start before Refundid, and the return rate, let's say 6 months later or a year later. And that's what we'll look at. And then you'll dive a bit deeper and you say, oh, wow, the return rate, this has actually happened. The return rate dropped 2% after launching Refundid. And we all looked around and we were like, wow, this is interesting. So we dive deeper, and it was total returns actually grew kind of, as I mentioned, like the same kind of metric. Total returns grew a bit, but total orders grew by so much more that the return rate actually decreased.
Yeah.
Right. And now that got me excited. I was like, wow, this is great. Now you can't attribute all the orders to the Refundid, but you can definitely, we were able to strip out and understand, what conversion rate uplift, what total order uplift was attributed to Refundid. And we were super happy about that.
Brilliant. Now, when you went into Culture Kings, and I don't expect you to tell us all the inside and out stories, but did you actually use them? Did you share the story of using them as your inspiration for starting Refundid?
100%. 100%.
And how was that received?
Yeah, it was very, I think we got the meeting, quite a while after we launched, and we were all very, very excited for it. We had bigger stores, but they're huge, but it was more just the sentimental, Not saying it was emotional, but maybe it was a bit like, wow, this is something that's changing.
What's the vision come to life, right?
Yeah, it's the vision come to life. And it's like, they know they've got the problem. They knew it straight away. And they were like, wow, this is something that can solve that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, 2.5 years in, really taken off in the last year, you've got investors on board like Paul Greenberg, who is behind a lot of ventures in e-commerce in Australia, and AP Ventures, obviously the Afterpay venture arm. How have you formed those relationships? I'm sure we've got plenty of people who are developing solutions and looking for investment. What advice would you have for them to develop those types of relationships?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think prior to Refundid, I was going down the investment banking pathway and finance pathway where you do intersect with a lot of those, venture capital funds like AP Ventures or even Afterpay itself, where you get kind of intertwined with them for some reason or another. I think with Afterpay and how that was led, I kind of in the same circle as Nick Moll, and I went to the same high school as Nick. So I was able to kind of wiggle my way through to someone to speak to there to kind of first get advice in the early days. And that kind of led to a discussion and a more conversation. And then eventually an investment out of AP Ventures, which was super exciting. I think with Paul, I had a mutual friend of Paul. And I asked for an intro because I knew what Paul could do. I knew, he had the ability to take us from here to there, to actually give us retail advice, kind of, I like to say, walk our hands through the retail sector. And he's been brilliant in that. So I think in terms of, to answer your question, for anyone trying to make those connections, warm leads are always better than cold. If you can go through 3 mutual friends that one person knows another person that knows another person that may know that person, that's kind of the best way.
We had Matt from Tractor Ventures on, and he was always talking about the lead time around investment isn't so much around how long it takes to get through the pitch and the prospectus and all that sort of stuff. It's those months and years before about having a bit of back and forth conversation and getting to know each other before it even comes to, here's what I've got, here's what's on the table, those kind of conversations.
Oh, for sure. I think especially in my time during finance and investment banking, it is a big networking game. So you build those networks and it's just day after day of, trying to build connections that someday will reap dividends.
Just like the quest to find the perfect pair of jeans, finding eco-friendly packaging solutions that are a great fit, cost-effective and look great can be a tiresome pursuit. Eco-friendly and zero-waste product brand Ecoroo were having this exact problem. Multiple suppliers, clunky packaging, inefficient processes. That is, until they found Signet and their adjustable cartons, which allows them to adjust the size of the shipment while remaining environmentally friendly. What a snug fit. Visit signet.net.au/blog to find out more. And in terms of using that investment, you mentioned that you've got a great technical team behind you. Is the investment more from the technical side, or is it getting the brand name out through marketing? Where do you really see that you've got to put most of the effort in at the moment to grow this even further?
It's definitely people, so hiring. We haven't done too much marketing. The marketing that we will do is to boost our partner brands. So, if we have a store that launches, we'll boost them significantly, invest some money to, grow them and bring brand awareness that, Refundid's partnered with them. We'll shoot stuff to our customers as well. But the key thing for us with raising that money was growing our team. So we can develop more products, have those e-com integrations, make it so the integrations are so simple. So it's easy for us to grow.
Yeah, great stuff. And are you keeping it all locally based here in Australia, or are you looking to expand the team throughout the world?
Currently, we're local. Everyone's here actually in Australia. We are exploring other regions, which we're super excited about. But in terms of a team, we're Australian born. Yeah. We will continue to kind of be that. We're really proud of that as well. I think, what Afterpay did is kind of put Australian tech as well as Canberra and Atlassian on the map. We'd like to kind of continue that path.
Yeah, great. And have you seen other people with a similar solution to yours outside of Australia, or are you unique in the marketplace?
Definitely unique. So we're first to market in terms of a refund option. We are that kind of global first refund option. So it's kind of Afterpay and all those payment options. We're making that option industry for the refunds. there are companies around the world that, target the return space, which are really successful, big companies that we respect, and we actually partner with them. But we are quite a unique product that no other company can offer.
Yeah, great. So speaking to so many retailers around the refunds and the refund process, even if we've got listeners who own retail stores who can't actually onboard Refundid right now, if you had one piece of advice around what pisses off customers the most around the refund process that retailers could easily change, what would it be?
Oh, I think it's just straight up transparency. If you can't offer Refundid and an instant refund, it's a lot of transparency. And I think the problem is, I don't like to throw Ozpost under the bus, but a lot of the anger towards retailers and the returns is a lot to do with the retailer receiving the goods. And a lot of the fault is delayed logistics time. So customers are getting angry at retailers. And I don't have the best answer for this aside from get refunded, but it's if retailers can share that, they can't do anything, which they can't, and I feel really bad. This is what I've done to try kind of solve that. But if retailers can share, like, look, it's out of our control, and it purely is. That's probably the best thing.
And close that window between themselves and the Australia Post, so that they're doing the most that they can do to close that time.
So as soon as you get the goods back, you process it straight away, because you've also got bank processing times following that.
Yeah.
Right. So
absolutely.
you need to close out those times, but sometimes it's not possible. Like we were speaking to a Byron Bay retailer, and they had an extra warehouse purely for managing returns, and they were getting we're actually speaking to them now, we're getting a lot of complaints because they couldn't do that. Couldn't, even in addition to the Ozpost time and the bank processing times in between that, they couldn't process them. So even once it got to them 2 weeks later, it was still in their warehouse for like 7 to 10 days waiting to be processed.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one. It really is.
And from the conversations that you've had, what's been the trickiest, almost surprising category or product, you don't have to give us brand names, that you've seen in terms of refund process? Because normally we just see it as a pretty straightforward process, but we always know that there's outliers there. Have you found any outliers that have really surprised you?
Oh, I think it's nice to see for brands or like industry, or not industries, like subsectors that don't have high return rates, to still make such a difference. Like let's say like cosmetics or linen or anything like that. The customer response for the, few customers that use it is just so incredible to see like those reviews coming in. Yeah. It can make such a difference to see like those few happy customers, even though you're not on, let's say, Colchins, where you're getting heaps of returns and refunds from customers and really good responses, which you're going to get. Even for the retailers that don't have those large amount of returns, to still reap the benefits there.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Brad, thank you for sharing that. I have to ask you, we've kind of touched on it, but what's next for Refundid? We've talked about internationalization and investment. Say, what's the next 12 months? What's on your radar?
Next 12 months, I think it's really killing out the Australian market. So getting as many retailers as possible where, Refundid's a brand name, really. So like customers can go to a store and be like, yes, there's Refundid. Yeah. And it's a really exciting thing. That is a priority. And I think we're really doing that in Q1. So we're launching with a lot of really incredible stores that we're super excited about in the next 2 to 3 months. And we just want to use that as a nice platform for the year to end up with, at least 100 top tier retailers by the end of the year.
And I have to ask, does having Afterpay Ventures as an investment partner help do that? Will there ever be a linking between the two?
Yeah, I'll hold comments on the linking, but I think definitely what Afterpay does for us, especially in the early days, not as much now as we've grown, but in those first few months, it gave us that reputation. It's like, oh, these guys aren't messing around. This is real. We can trust them. That level of advocacy, that really helps a lot. And definitely the guidance and that retail expertise that we can learn. What do retailers actually want? What is actually going to benefit the retailer? Because we know the customer's going to love it. It's like what's going to benefit the retailer. Yeah,
brilliant. Now, Brad, if people want to get in touch, you mentioned, if retailers can onboard really quickly, you mentioned the half-hour phone call there. What's the best way for retailers to learn more about Refundid and start using if it's right for them?
Yeah. What you can do is you can reach out through our website, and you can go to I'm a Business page, and at the bottom there you can select merchant interest and just shoot in your email address, and I'll shoot you out an email, or one of my team will shoot you out an email. And then we can get going there, have a little brief call like we're having now, discuss, the benefits, what may work for you, how we can structure it to, maximize your return, and then go from there.
Great stuff, Brad. Mate, it's really exciting and I'm so glad we got to speak to you at this stage of the journey. No doubt there's a lot more to come. Thank you for sharing the story so far and can't wait to see what 2022 brings.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to be here. Absolutely love the podcast. So feeling privileged to be on it finally.
Thanks, mate. Now, when I said I was sweltering doing that interview in my parents-in-law's bedroom in Bundaberg, I was not kidding. I was in a bloody hotbox doing that, but I think it turned out pretty good. And how good was Brad and what he's come up with at Refundid? I just love it when people come up with simple solutions to old problems. Even better when they're in our own backyard and they are taking it to the world. Can't wait to see what Refundid turns into within the next 12 months. Here are 3 takeaways that I took from my conversation with Brad. Number 1, be in the customer's shoes. I know it seems obvious, but the Refundid idea came from solving a customer pain point when the co-founders themselves were customers. I find too many e-commerce people actually don't shop online that often, and it surprises me constantly. It's so important to be regularly purchasing from different retailers to understand the different experiences, options, and opportunities. Whenever you can, just shop online. Number 2, return policies are key. Brad shared how approximately 60% of customers check the return policy before buying. His advice was to make sure that you have one to start with, and 2, to make it as transparent as possible. He goes beyond having a link in the footer to a returns policy to making sure that it is always accessible, especially on the PDP, the product detail page. Number 3, the value of warm connections. Brad has developed an amazing retailer and investment connection in a short amount of time. Just like Weet-Bix, his advice on connections was that warmer is always better than cold. And I think that has always helped that he's had ideal customers such as Culture Kings and Afterpay in mind when talking to ideal contacts. So find your ideal customers or your contacts, then work out how you use your network to get warm intros into them. To finish up, I have 3 resources for you. Firstly, if you're a first-time listener of Add to Cart and you want to stay up to date with new episodes, head over to addtocart.com.au and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter. We'll let you know every time a new episode drops, as well as giving you my 3 takeaways from each episode and a link to the transcripts so you can know that this is an episode that you want to dive straight into. Secondly, if you want a weekly roundup of the best e-commerce case studies, tools, and research, sign up to the High Five Friday newsletter, which is delivered to inboxes at 8 a.m. every Friday morning. I read all the e-commerce news and send you the bits that I think you can take action from. Sign up at 12hi12hig.com.au/high five. And the last thing, if you are looking to explore your next e-commerce opportunity, head over to esuitetalent.com.au. We are a dedicated e-commerce talent agency connecting the best e-commerce talent with the fastest growing brands. Check it out, sign up to the email, and get in touch with me if you want to discuss your next move. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep those customers adding to cart.